Alright, so welcome back, guys. I want your first time here. I'm Vision here, born here to guys another video. Today I got another Power Rangers Fury video for you. Now, if Power Rangers something you're instant, don't forget to hit subscribe button down below. Hit that bell icon. This is more Power Rangers content from me. Moving forward. Now let's begin. Now, today's Power Rangers Fury comes from Power Rangers Time Force. Now, this is a fan favorite. A lot of times it's in everybody's top 5, if not top 3, all-time favorite seasons. However, today I want to talk about one of the things that I consider to be a huge plot hole in PR and kind of go through my theory regarding it. Now, my kind of theory / plot hole regards Time Force and Alex. Now, we know in the premiere, of course, he dies, and then through circumstances throughout the season that the Rangers do in the past, in a way resurrects him and he comes back to life. Now, that's not an issue, but what I have an issue kind of figuring out, and this is my theory video, is how is he alive in the finale? If you watch in part 2 of the finale, he tells the Rangers that who return to the future after Wes sends them back. You have Alex who tells them that in the final fight against Rankimg, that Wes dies in battle, or at least it's presumed that he dies. Power Rangers never says the words die or whatever, except for one episode in Time Force, actually. But he never specifically says dies. But in my opinion, it's heavily implied that he dies in battle. Now, if you go back to the premiere of Time Force, it is said that they need someone with the same DNA as Alex for them to access the Morphers and morph with the Red Ranger. If that's the case, then, though, how is Alex still alive in the year 3000 if Wes, his, I guess you'd say, descendant or ancestor, dies in 2001? Like, wouldn't the bloodline end there with Wes? Like, how would there be any more, family afterwards to eventually, Alex to eventually exist? I know some people might argue, well, what if Mr. Collins had another kid? Okay, but I feel like that just also doesn't fully make sense because it wouldn't be a full DNA match. Again, they go into a specific thing to have Alex and Wes look similar, but if Wes dies in battle, how is that possible? How does Alex exist in that timeline? I guess some people might argue that, since the Rangers would later, after the fact, go back in time, that fixes the timeline. So even though Wes did die originally, them going back into the future later resurrects Alex, I guess. But at the time, the Rangers originally weren't planning on going back in time. So again, how is Alex still around, or alive at least, if Wes died? I know some of our theories regard they used DNA samples or gene editing. I guess that can work given the year 3000, but I just feel like, I don't know, I don't really like that aspect of it. I know we've had those, that theory kind of works in a sense that maybe Mr. Collins donated Wes's body to science or something. I don't know, feels a little strange. So where's this DNA coming from? Wes's body eventually is buried. He dies, if he dies in battle, his father is burying his body, unless, like I said, he donates it to science for some reason. We know he is involved with Biolab, but I feel like it'd be a little strange for him to donate his own son's body to science, especially with how he would end up dying. Also, if he's dying in Battle of Ransec, would there be anything left of him to bury? I feel like this is a very dark kind of theory, but this is also a dark kind of season. So, how does Alex live? Was he, I guess you could say, genetically engineered and, I guess you could say, born via lab, experiments kind of stuff? I don't really know how you'd say that. Was that how he was, eventually was born? Was, Wes is dead. And they made it clearly state in the premiere that in order for the full team to morph, they needed to find a person with Alex's DNA in order to, like, access the Morphers and become the Time Force Rangers. So where else is that DNA coming from? Again, I don't think it's coming from Wes's father, and unless he has another son or something down the line, that kind of seems out of the, not likely. We never see him really have a love interest in Time Force, and he's like what, in his 50s in Time Force, I'd give it roughly 50s. And like, at that point, what, he's gonna find a wife or whatever, have another kid. I mean, sure, that's possible, but it just feels a little strange. And, so how does Alex survive? How is Alex around in the year 3000 if Wes dies? I feel like this is a plot hole. And no one really talks about this because Time Force is, pretty much considered like a beloved season. It's a fan favorite season. It's a season where like people, love it and really don't question kind of everything that goes around it. It definitely has problems, but I think due to the positive aspects of the season, the negatives usually go unnoticed and, kind of brushed under the radar due to how well done the rest of the season was. And I think this is one of those things where people don't stop to think about it. Like, if Wes dies and he's genetically connected to Alex, how is Alex alive in the year 3000? It doesn't really make sense. And I feel like, I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking too much into this. Like, maybe there is a better way to explain this. Maybe, like, just because the Rangers afterwards went back in time, brought Alex back to life again. But again, that just doesn't make any sense. Like, shouldn't he still be dead anyway? I also just feel like maybe it's just because of narrative storytelling, Alex had to be there to welcome him back. Like, it'd kind of be weird to have some random red shirt Time Force officer greet them when they come back to the future. I can get that. But again, it just kind of feels a little strange. Like, they did introduce, like, the smaller character of, I think it's Captain Logan in Time Force from the future. Like, so they could have done that. I mean, I get it. I get Alex probably needed to be there, but also it kind of creates this plot hole. Like, how is Alex there? How, is he still alive if Wes died and he's genetically connected to him? Again, they could easily have, like, said, like, his DNA was donated somehow or something like that. I don't know. Maybe he was like a sperm donor or something. I don't know. Still strange, especially in a kid's show. But again, these are just like things here and there that, like, doesn't make much sense. Maybe, like, I don't know. We never see it on camera in Time Force. Again, this is a kid's show. And this also kind of feels a little weird. But maybe, like, Wes and Jen have a kid. Again, kind of weird. And we never see anything like that on the show. Like, showing anything near of, like, a full-on, like, that kind of relationship. So, like, maybe that. But it also, again, kind of feels a little weird to say. But again, that's just kind of my thoughts, opinions. I don't know yours. Do you think that, like, Alex was lying and Wes didn't die? Like, that's another possibility. Like, maybe Wes actually didn't die and Alex kind of, lied to them and said, like, he died so they don't go back into the past. But again, I feel like, yeah, you could use that to cover up, yeah, that wasn't a plot hole. But I still just feel like the way it was said kind of really implied that Wes died. Like, we have seen that, Alex isn't above lying to the Rangers. But I just feel like that's something where, like, he wouldn't lie to them just because. So, that's just where I fall. Like, do you think I'm thinking way too much into this and that, like, again, there's easy explanation for this? Maybe Wes actually didn't die. Maybe it's just, like, gene editing. Maybe Wes's father donated his body to science. Maybe Jen had Wes's kid later on. Like, let me know all that stuff. Let me know. Do you agree with those theories? Do you have your own theories? Do you think mine are good ideas? Mine are bad ideas? Let me know all that good stuff in the comment section down below. So, you guys, those are my thoughts, opinions regarding the theory as to how Alex is alive in the season finale of Time Force, even though he told the Rangers that Wes had died. As always, if you like to hit the big thumbs up and share, don't forget to hit subscribe button down below, hit that bell icon, some more Power Rangers content from me, moving forward. And you can follow me on Twitter, linked best section of my YouTube channel. As always, I'm Vision here, Entertainment, and I'll see you next time.